As a parent, you often find yourself constantly moving from lesson to lesson with your kids. Some take anchor right away, while others, well, some of those others can be a work in progress perpetually. Hey everybody, it's Ed the Trainer. And this week we'll get honest with ourselves, coming up next on Tips on Tuesday. So a couple of weeks ago, I glanced out my office window only to notice my oldest son, who's almost 8, perfectly positioning himself right at the edge of my neighbor's woods. So then he glances around strategically, making sure that the coast is clear. And of course, what comes next, you can probably guess. I'm really sorry, Jim. So it was a hot day outside, everybody, and all the kids were playing, and I guess my son must have felt like he was being more efficient. But his house and his bathroom were maybe 75 yards away. And if we'd not had this talk over and over and over, I might have just laughed it off altogether. Which talk? Well, it might not be the one that you think. Instead, my concern was that we had just talked about knowingly choosing to do the wrong thing when we know what's right. About using good judgment and making the right choices. You see, this was a real-life, perfect example of the C.S. Lewis quote. You know the one. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And as carefully as he checked his surroundings, he knew that he shouldn't have done it. And when he turned around and saw me standing in the front door, well, his shoulders slumped forward and his head dropped, especially when I said, "Why don't you come over here and have a talk with me?" Of course, he understood what was coming now, too. Just another dad lecture that he had to sit through. But here's the thing, and let's get honest with ourselves at this point. How many of us, as adults, still sometimes choose the easy path rather than the right path? Now listen, none of us are perfect, especially me. And I look around every day asking if I'm setting the right examples for my kids. And quite honestly, sometimes I wonder if it would be a top priority of mine if I weren't a dad. But I'm certainly thankful for a bigger than me reason to try and do some good. But I can also say that nearly every day I'm still faced with tough choices, some even more difficult than the others. Now, as I grew up a son, I feared disappointing my parents. Now, as a dad, I worry daily about being the best example I can be for my own kids. But it all comes down to the decisions that we make and the consequences that we create for ourselves on a daily basis. My wife and I watched a movie over the weekend. It's called The Intern, starring Robert De Niro. In fact, it was really the motivation for this week's topic. Now, in the movie, his character, named Ben Whitaker, mentions his favorite quote from Mark Twain. You're familiar with the quote. It goes, "You're never wrong to do the right thing." When faced with tough choices, think about this. You see, it's tempting to take shortcuts, the path of least resistance, often the wrong path. But know that while the right path may be long, it may be hard, it's never the wrong path to take. Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with me today, guys. I really, really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you soon.